Hello, welcome to One on One. I am your host, Greg Walker. I got a good friend joining us on the show today. Really look forward to this. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. His name is Joe Mills. Now, you may have heard him occasionally. He co-hosts with me on Sports Talk on our radio show on Monday and Thursday. But Joe works at Austin Peay State University. As a matter of fact, he's the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs. He's also the Director of Housing and Dining. He's got a lot of responsibilities. He does a good job. He is a Clarksville guy. He's been here since 1991, and Clarksville is home. He's got a wonderful family. We'll find out about Joe, his family, and much more today on this edition of One on One. I want you to settle back, relax, and enjoy a good down-to-earth conversation with a very nice and interesting guy. Joe Mills joins us after these words.
Thank you. It's the great savings event at Matthews Nissan in Clarksville or MatthewsNissan.com. $7,500 off a new Altima. $7,500 unbelievable. $6,500 off a new Rogue. $5,200 off a new Maxima. New Versa $9,999. Save big on $400 new. You're gonna love our prices.
I'm Gary Matthews, and that's my guarantee.
You're gonna love our prices. Matthews Nissan.
The Leaf Chronicle is now available on every device you carry or don't carry. All things Clarksville, in all media, 24/7. Subscribe now for full access.
For 100 years, Neil Tarpley Parchman Funeral Home has honored legacies. We believe every family deserves a special time of celebrating a life well lived.
Neil Tarpley Parchman, people who care, a name you can trust.
Welcome to our show today. Our guest, Joe Mills. Pleasure having you in the house, Joe.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate the offer.
Oh, man, it's been fun already just talking with you before we get started. Now, Joe is the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Director of Housing and Dining at APSU. Tell everybody what you do, Joe.
Well, just basically have responsibility for all the kids that live on campus.
Right.
All those housing, renovations, new projects for housing, handle all the dining, food, the most important thing for everybody. And then I directly supervise the student rec program and the Child Learning Center. So it's a little bit to do.
That's a lot to do.
It is, but I love it.
You do love it, don't you?
I do, because the great thing about it is that when the phone rings, I never know what it's going to be. It could be a myriad of things. And so it's not a constant, working on a line and trying to produce 25 cars a day or cranking out 15 bags of wheat or whatever it is. It's always something different.
The thing about you, Joe, I know, and the reason you work so efficiently, you're well organized, aren't you?
I think that I am. I consider myself to be.
I think you are.
And so we try to stay on top of that stuff.
Let's talk about your family. Certainly married, Patty, and two fine sons. Tell us about it.
Yep. Patty, met her. We both grew up in Illinois and actually met her at college.
At EIU?
I did, at Eastern Illinois. And kind of the funny story about that is that when I met her, she was engaged to another man.
Really?
But I didn't notice the ring. I think I was too infatuated with other things. And so I didn't really notice it till about a week later, and someone said, you realize Patty's engaged to somebody? And I said, no, I didn't really realize that. And so the rest is history. And so we got married in 1985, and then got two boys, Kyle, who's living in Nashville right now, working for a construction firm down there as kind of a project manager, dealing with stuff. Had a great couple projects to start off his work down there. One of his first projects was the indoor practice facility for Vanderbilt football.
Really?
And then the last one that he just did was that new Ford Ice Center where the Predators have their practice facility over there. So it's really cool that he can do that. And then my youngest, Alec, actually is playing professional baseball in the minor leagues for the Kansas City Royals. We're just blessed.
You are blessed. And we're going to get back to Alec and Patty and Kyle, but now you're talking about you're an Illinois guy. You were born and raised there.
Right, born and raised in Illinois, small town. Grew up in a town of 1,500 people.
Oh, really?
Yep. My family, actually my dad, ran the local newspaper up there. And little bitty small town called Hoopeston, Illinois. You probably ever heard, but their mascot at their high school is called the Corn Jerkers. So it's very odd, the Hoopeston Corn Jerkers.
What is a corn jerker?
Well, they're known for sweet corn up there. And actually a corn jerker is a person that goes out and picks that corn in the field.
Just jerking it up.
Yep, and that's what it was.
It's a corn jerk.
Yep, so it's kind of an odd name to be up there. So Dad had the local newspaper up there. And actually, when I went to college, that's what I was going to do. I was going to study journalism.
Right.
And I took it for the first semester, and I changed my major.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I just didn't like all the writing and critique and all that, and changed my major then to economics, and finished out my career there at Eastern.
Eastern, Illinois. We were just talking about it. The Panthers, OVC. You said you never thought they'd be in the OVC.
Right. I think when I was up there, and you might know this better than I do, I think they were in the Gateway Conference. They were with Western Illinois, Indiana State.
Yeah, maybe that was called the Gateway.
Southwest Missouri, maybe. But I think it was the Gateway Conference.
I'll be down.
Yeah.
You said that they had about 11,000 students, and they're down students.
Yeah. They were kind of the first time I really saw that was when Alec was playing baseball. He played baseball for UT Martin,
right.
And so they were in the Ohio Valley Conference, and so we went up there one time just to kind of go back, so we hadn't been there for a while. But yeah, I think they're dropped down to about 8,000 people. Illinois is having all kinds of state funding issues, and they owe a lot of universities millions of dollars.
Really?
And that's really hurt all those campuses up there. So all the state colleges in Illinois are just struggling.
Let's talk about Alec a minute. And if you don't know, folks, this is such an interesting story. Now, Alec Mills plays in Texas in the minors in the Kansas City Royal organization. They had a doubleheader. Was it last week or week before? We're taping this show May the 25th. But anyway, and they called him up.
They did?
And I guess you got that call when that, hey, I'm going to be going up.
Well, actually, Alec called us on Sunday night. They might have been coming back from Springfield, Missouri, and his manager came back on the bus when they were going back to Northwest Arkansas, is where he's playing. And he told Alec, he goes, hey, you're going to Kansas City. And Alec just kind of went, what? And he says, man, you've made it to the bigs. You know, they've got a roster spot open up there, and you're going.
Now, he's on the 40-man roster anyway.
Right, and so that's the way that they can go back and forth between the teams and all that. And so he called us, but the ironic thing was, in order to make room for him on the roster, the Royals had to cut somebody. They had to release somebody or put somebody on the DL or something to make room for that on the 25-man. And he just told us, he goes, you know, I'm going up to Kansas City, but y'all can't tell anybody. And I'm telling you right now, that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to keep in my entire life.
I bet.
You couldn't tell best friends. You couldn't tell family. Because he kind of tells a story that there was a guy about 6 months ago who had kind of a similar situation happen to him, and he was told not to tell. And he told the story, and his mom and girlfriend put it out on social media. And it got out there before that other guy got a chance to get notified. And so it just, it's just...
That's not good.
Oh, no, yeah.
No.
So yeah, and so we met him up there Monday in Kansas City. And actually that game Monday night got rained out. And so then they played that doubleheader on Wednesday, I think. And just really blessed he was able to get in that second game and pitch an inning against the Boston Red Sox.
Now let me tell you how big this is. Hod Lisenby, who is well known in this area, struck out Murderers Row, pitched in the bigs. Bronson Heflin, who is from Clarksville, he didn't go to school here now, but he was born and raised in Clarksville out in the central area. he got a cup of coffee in the big leagues, pitched 6 innings, and Alec Mills. And that is the only 3 from Montgomery County to ever at least get a cup of coffee. And of course, Alec's just 24, and he's having another great season. Right. So, you know, we could see this more. I mean, that's really, for a young man that really didn't get a scholarship out of high school from Montgomery Central, did he?
It's really kind of a cool story.
It is.
You know, he didn't really want to pursue baseball past high school.
Yeah.
You know, I think we had talked about it, and his grandfather was an engineer, and I think he always wanted to kind of be an engineer. He kind of liked that aspect of life, and so he decided to go to UT Martin. Had a good engineering program down there, and wanted to do that. And I think we had always talked about, you know, once you worry about your degree, and once you get your degree, everything else will kind of take care of itself.
Right.
And so I wouldn't say he was highly recruited out of high school. And so he went to UT Martin and was walking around campus one day and saw a sign in the University Center that said, hey, open tryouts for the baseball team. And he just walked by the field and he got the itch. And he called us. And
he saw these guys out there trying out and said, hey, I think I can make this team.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think he said he wanted to try.
Yeah.
And so he called Patty, and I said, hey, do you care if I try out for the baseball team? It's like going, that's fine. And long story short, made the team, was a major contributor there freshman year, and, you know, got drafted after his junior year from UT Martin. And so it's kind of a cool story. A walk-on at UT Martin.
And let's not forget, here's a young man also that had rotator cuff surgery.
Right, Tommy John.
Tommy John,
yep.
Yeah.
So that happened after his first professional year. Sat out a year and has come back.
Helped him, actually. It's almost a miracle type story.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The Royals tell him that he's the fastest guy to ever come back from Tommy John. I think from the time that he had the injury until he threw a live pitch in a game was like 10.5 months. So he was just real regimented about it. And I mean, I'll give him credit. He really takes this as a job and works out diligently. And when he comes home from the off season, I mean, he doesn't slough off. I mean, he treats it like a job.
Well, it is.
It is. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a profession.
Now, his brother Kyle will tell him that he's never had a job. You know? But,
yeah.
But yeah, it is. I mean, it's a daily grind.
Yeah, it really is. And he's just like the other night, you were telling me the other night, pitched a heck of a game, pitched 6 innings,
Yep.
no earned runs, led 3-0. They led 4-0 going in the 9th, and they get beat.
Yep.
I mean, he gets no decision. He's getting no decision, but
yeah.
pitched great. But hey, they know win-loss records, that's team records.
Right.
They're looking at that ERA. They're looking at a lot of other things.
I think they all, they look at all that, and that was kind of interesting coming from the scout when he was over at UT Martin, because UT Martin has not had a very strong baseball program, but they had some kids over there when Alec was a freshman and sophomore and junior that they were pretty competitive. But that's what the scout said, because I asked him, I said, what did you see in Alec that he goes, we don't look at what records are, we don't look at what scores are. We look at how they pitch on the mound, their command of their pitches, academics, and then how he reacted if something happened in the field.
Negatively.
If it was a home run, if it was an error, if it was something like that.
Yeah.
He said that was a big key to make that happen.
That's great. Y'all have raised him right. Joe Mills, our guest. Segment 2 right after this.
The Leaf Chronicle is now available on every device you carry or don't carry. All things Clarksville in all media 24/7. Subscribe now for full access.
Welcome back. Joe Mills joining us today, Austin Peay State University, Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs, Director of Housing and Dining. Joining us, we were talking about Joe and his family, his wife Patty, wonderful wife Patty, his oldest son Kyle works in Nashville, and of course Alec in the Kansas City Royal, the world champion organization. What I didn't get asked you, and I want you to tell everybody because I think it's worthwhile, because I had to ask you on Sports Talk, did he tell you how he felt when they called him, when he went out? How did you feel? What did he say about going out, getting on the mound for the first time in the bigs?
It was, I mean, I'll tell you about myself. It was surreal.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't believe it. Just really blessed to be able to be there. And Patty was there, and Kyle came in, and Alec's fiance. So just blessed. I'd always told him that if he ever made the bigs, I was going to be there for that debut.
Right.
Just thank God it was in Kansas City and it wasn't in like
Seattle,
you know, or New York City or something like that. But I'd have been there, you know. But it was surreal when he got the call, and you could see him warming up in the bullpen, and I'm just like going, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I mean, I just can't believe it, you know. And so he trots out. I think he pitched in the 8th inning, and Salvador Perez, the catcher for the Royals, you know, met him out there, and I'm sure they're going over, okay, what do you throw, and what's your signs, and where are we having a steak dinner tonight, and all that stuff, you know. And so I asked Alec, I said, after the game, I said, I just got to ask you, what did you and Salvi talk about? He goes, Dad, I don't remember. It was just a complete sensory overload, you know, and standing
sort
on
of
that
like
mound,
an out-of-body experience.
Well, I mean, I'm
40,000 fans were there.
Yeah, yeah. He said the mistake he made is when he looked up and saw that top tier, you know.
Yeah.
But now I thought, you know, and now I've got the ultimate wife, and she's a proud baseball mama and just proud of both her boys and all that stuff. But she pulled the old line from Hoosiers the night before he got out on the mound. He said, now, Alec, you remember the movie Hoosiers, don't you?
Yeah.
Sure do.
Me too.
Says, now, what'd they do when they went there to that gymnasium there at Indianapolis? I think that's where Butler was.
It was.
Old Hackman went in there and took that tape measure.
Yeah.
And she goes, Alec, you know that mound you're pitching off tonight is going to be exactly what you're pitching off of and have always pitched off of.
Amen.
So nothing's different.
Amen.
And I mean,
she's wise.
Oh, let me tell you, man.
That's a baseball mom for sure,
man,
right
you're not
there.
kidding. Yeah. So it was
very good, Patty.
It was really cool. Yeah, I'll give her credo for that.
Very good. I'm impressed. Austin Peay State University. Are we growing?
Yeah, it's. You know, I've been there 25 years.
Yep.
And I think when I got there, I think we had about 5,200 students there.
Really?
Yeah. And I think we're going to have a booming class this year. We're full in housing right now. We're ahead about
even with all the new dormitories.
We're ahead about 320 people booked from where we were last year. So I think it's going to be a record year over there. I think it's just it's a well-kept secret, and I still find that hard to believe. But the interesting thing is that when students come and visit Austin Peay, every student that comes up there and takes a tour, we get 92% of those people.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They fall in love with it. They fall in love with it.
I mean, of course, I'm a hometown boy, but I always loved it.
Yeah.
I really did when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And my days at Austin Peay, my 5 years, maybe a little more, not as long as I wanted it to be. I'll be honest with you, greatest years of my life.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it is.
They were fun times, man.
But it's a growing institution. It's a great institution. You know, we've made a lot of changes over there, not only just from academics, but, I mean, you and I have talked about it, just the housing options that we have provided and old buildings that we've torn down and new ones that we've put back up. As much as people don't really want to talk about it, it is a competition. You know, parents are making those choices about where their son or daughter is going to live. They don't really go look at the psychology classroom or go look at the math classroom and say, oh, yeah, I feel really good about those chairs in there. Mm-hmm. It's all about, do they feel comfortable when they come to campus, and where are they going to live and where are they going to eat.
How is the food over there now?
I think it's awesome. It's better. I mean, they've got more choices now than you can shake a stick at. there's just a ton of choices over there. So, I mean, I'm really pleased with the product we give out there.
That's great. Joe Mills, Stretch Run coming up right after this.
Thank you. It's the great savings event at Matthews Nissan in Clarksville or MatthewsNissan.com. $7,500 off a new Altima. $7,500 unbelievable. $6,500 off a new Rogue. $5,200 off a new Maxima. New Versa $9,999. Save big on $400 new. You're gonna love our prices.
I'm Gary Matthews, and that's my guarantee.
You're gonna love our prices. Matthews Nissan.
100 years, Neil Tarpley Parchman Funeral Home has celebrated legacies with services as unique as each life.
Neil Tarpley Parchman, people who care, a name you can trust.
Stretch Run, our guest today is Joe Mills. Joe is a good man, does a good job for APSU. I'm going to tell you what, APSU is very fortunate to have Joe. I say that from the heart. Joe, I got to ask you, I asked everybody that's ever been on here, what's the best advice you've ever received?
I think it probably came from my dad, and just told me to treat other people the way that I want to be treated. And I think I've really taken that to heart here probably the last 10, 15 years. You know, it doesn't cost anything to be nice to anybody.
It really doesn't.
And it surprises me how unfriendly some people are.
Why be rude? Why be unfriendly? It doesn't make sense,
I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, I say hi to everybody that I see.
Yeah.
You know, people are waiting in line for traffic. I let them in. I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't cost anything to be nice, and I think a lot of people can learn from that.
I couldn't agree more. What is the truest sign of success, Joe?
Well, it's not money. It's not fame. I think it's all about if people can really say that the world was a better place after you leave it. You know, did you make an impact on what's going on? And I know a lot of people will sit there and say, well, you know, you built a bunch of buildings over at Austin Peay and you've done all that stuff. It's nothing about legacy. I just want people to, when they come to Austin Peay, have a better time than when they came in as a freshman year, when they leave as a senior, that they have felt some growth and felt some success there.
What characteristic do you admire most in a person?
Honesty. You know, we kind of talked about that a little bit before the show, that if you're being honest with yourself, you don't have to make anything up.
Amen.
And, you know, if you see people lying or whatever, it seems like you can always see their eyes wandering or trying to make stuff up. And I just think if we were honest with each other.
Tell one lie, you got to tell 10 to get out of it.
Right, yep. And there's just, I don't know, there's no advantage to it.
Nope, it's not. If you had a chance for a do-over in your life, would you do anything differently?
I'm going to cop out and say no. Just
That's
really
not a
happy, happy with how we ended up. I love living in Clarksville. You know, it was a great place to raise both the boys, and a school system and a growing community. Met a lot of friends here. So I'm going to say I wouldn't change a thing.
That's all right. Have you ever had a hero?
It was my dad. It was my dad. You know, I think a lot of times he was kind of the silent partner in the family. But I grew up playing a lot of high school sports and all that. And I never really kind of knew he was there, but he was always there.
You've been a sports fan ever since you was a kid, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Grew up in Illinois, still a Cubs fan.
Yeah, Cub, and I die hard to Cubs fan.
Yeah, and I'll take this year all day long.
I guarantee you. Now, other than the Cubs, what are some of your favorite sports teams?
I like to follow the Titans. I sure like to follow them because I think, once you have a team, I think you've got to stay with that team. I don't think you can really be a, what do you want to call it, not a homer, but a person that flip-flop from one team, whoever the winner is, I'm going to go with that team, or I'm going to go with this other team,
Wagon jumpers.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So I think you got to be consistent with your team. So, Cubs and Titans are my two teams.
Cubs and the Titans. Favorite sport?
I like college football. And kind of the least favorite, I don't know if you're going to ask me that or not, but NBA basketball. I just have I don't know what it is. I've seen a couple games live. Just doesn't do anything for me. And as I've told you before, I wouldn't let you take me to the Dunn Center for an exhibition between some team over there if the ticket was free.
NBA.
No desire to watch an NBA team.
I got you. You love mowing the grass.
I do. I got a little over probably mowing probably 3.5 acres, and I call it my therapy chair. My cell phone's not going off, and my dear wife of 31 years today, actually.
31 today.
31
May
today.
the 25th. Congratulations.
But she's not chirping in my ear, and she's not having that honey-do list, and so I love it.
That's great. What's your favorite food?
I will love a good hamburger, or I'll also love a good piece of pizza.
I like them too.
Yep.
Drink?
I think one of my favorite drinks is the Arnold Palmer, kind of that half tea, and that's a good drink. There's probably nothing better than a good old cold glass of water.
Hey, it's mighty good, man. Movies, TV, you like it?
I do. I don't watch a whole lot of TV. Try to watch some movies. My favorite movie, I think, of all time is Shawshank Redemption.
Boy, that's a great movie.
Andy Dufresne.
Morgan Freeman.
That's a good movie.
Tim Robbins.
Yep. And we were briefly talking about some sports movies like Hoosiers and Remember the Titans and there's a bunch of movies. But.
Great stuff. Joe, it's been a pleasure, man.
Thanks, Greg.
What's your favorite radio show?
1400 Sports Talk, JZN.
That's right. Monday and Thursday, 4 o'clock. He's joining me tomorrow night. Appreciate you, Joe. Tell the family hello.
Will do.
For Joe Mills, Steve Sawyer behind the scenes, for yours truly, Greg Walker, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, have a nice rest of the day, folks.